Lately I've been feeling things change. We've been working hard, no sleep, get it every day. And I swear that we ain't stopping till we pay. Yeah, the pressure on, gotta make it work, triple play, yeah.
This is Triple Play Fantasy Basketball Week 17 preview. Can you believe it? There's probably like 2 weeks left in the regular season of fantasy basketball before the playoffs.
Gone. Like, James, it is the end of February. It's 17 weeks. You and I have done this like 15 weeks. We haven't gotten canceled. We're not tired of each other yet.
No.
We just keep going on, man.
No, and you think about the All-Star break and the All-Star shenanigans that we don't need to comment about, but you think of that. Like,
I didn't watch a single minute, and I told you I wasn't going to watch a single minute.
When you think about All-Stars, like, that's got to be a halfway point of the year. But, like, yeah, you go to the next week, and then there's 2 weeks left, and then your fantasy playoffs start for most leagues because you want to end it before things get weird at the end of the year. Things have already gotten weird with the All-Star period. Like, people are putting out people they want to trade, this and this. So it's just a kind of a weird, murky 2-week scenario. And we had a 2-week scenario earlier when it came to the in-season tournament. But you kind of had to adjust as a fantasy owner accordingly. That most of the time that counts as two. The 2 weeks counts as one. So it takes away from the total weeks, but here we are, and some people are getting, some more burn. It's a better opportunity, and then we find out that the next generation's greatest player is out for the season. Not only him, but the coach. And what does that mean for the Spurs?
After they trade for De'Aaron Fox, I can't remember the most recent change of momentum. The thing with Wemby. You hope it's just for the rest of the regular season. Like, this is something that has been a little bit more common in big men. It's what ended Chris Bosh's career. Brandon Ingram was able to return from it early in his career, but it's very scary.
Yeah, and the Ingram thing was the same spot, right? The shoulder. So we will see, and I'm hopeful that this doesn't derail the Wemby, everything that comes with Victor Wembanyama in the future and the future of the league, really. Jeremy Sochan might be the one that benefits off of him being out. Yeah.
Ugh.
A guy Dockler doesn't like this is a season stats. It's about 12 and 7 and 2.5. But hey,
James, that's not a current photo. He has blue hair now.
Okay. Thank you.
You should know that since you're his number one fan.
He switches it up. Like, he's fashionable. And he's got that Dennis Rodman 10 rocking on the shirt. And I mean, 55% from the field on the season. Like, it doesn't get that bad. He's one of the safer type of players, I want to say. And with Wemby out, he might get a couple more minutes here and there. He's been playing I think 28 minutes per game since he's been out. I mean, that's very, very recent. He might be beneficiary. They might add a center position rank to him, but he's not going to win you the league, but he's somebody that should be rostered in 12-team formats in category leagues, if you ask me.
I mean, he's safe.
Yeah, he's a safe. He's the safe pick. It was just funny, but yeah,
a floor player, 28 minutes both games since Wemby's been out, averaging 10 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1 steal, 1.5 threes. Nothing glamorous, giving you a little bit in each category except for blocks. But maybe he gets that center eligibility, and maybe he swats a few more shots. I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody else that is benefiting off of this trade deadline scenario, but more so injury-based. DeJounte Murray's out for the year with the Achilles. Jose Alvarado has been chills, especially filling out the categories. He rebounds well for his size. He gets dimes and he gets swipes, and he hits a couple threes. So he, even more so than Jeremy Sochan, which is higher rostered. I mean, I don't know. What say you? but I think that he should be rostered in more leagues than say Sochan. And
Well, it's
I'm a Sochan
interesting.
guy.
But before the All-Star break, Jose Alvarado was a big cut candidate because he had back-to-back games, 5 points and 9 points. He had in the game where he had 9 points, he had no other stats. I think someone from at least a steals perspective, but they've been fluctuating his minutes. And over the last 3 games, he's played 30 plus minutes. But in the 3 games before that, he played less than 30 minutes in all 3. So it's interesting what the Pelicans are doing because they're almost mathematically eliminated at this point. Are they going to continue to play him? Alvarado's been coming off the bench and they've been playing Trey Murphy. But if he's playing the minutes, he's going to produce. It's just what New Orleans plans to do.
Well, and in the last 3 minutes, like you said, he's had over 30 in those 3. And I guess as a fantasy owner, you're hoping that is sustainable. Toumani Camara, which was the throw-in trade piece to the Dame Lillard trade. He actually seems like he's a good basketball player.
I mean, he might be the best. He might be the best piece of it, if we're being honest.
Well, and I think it's very funny because we go from one Team Lewis guy to one Team Mendelson guy. Your guy is doing better than mine this year, and I have to tip the hat.
Toumani Camara is one of those guys you watch, and he might be a better real-life player than fantasy. But the fantasy numbers have been coming recently. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 stocks in his most recent game. And that was only in 28 minutes. Played 38 minutes the game before, had 5 steals. You look at a game earlier this month before the All-Star break versus the Kings, 4 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists. Something to note, DeAndre Ayton probably out for the rest of the regular season. Robert Williams probably playing every other game, back-to-backs. Donovan Clingan, 20 rebound game, and then follows up with like a 6 rebound game. But Toumani Camara has been one of the more consistent pieces for the Blazers. And if you think about it, they really don't have a lot of wing pieces. I know they have Jeremy Grant. I think Jeremy Grant is on the decline of his career. I know they have Denny Advia.
Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah, Shaedon Sharpe. I count him as a guard more. I count him as their shooting guard.
Yeah.
But Camara has really kind of filled out a role for the Blazers. He's averaging 32 and a half minutes per game this year. That's nothing to slouch at.
No. And with minutes come opportunity, new faces and new places.
Ooh, you dropping that in, James.
Caris LeVert right now.
You're an ESPN headline there.
Last 2 weeks, 17, 7, and 3. And he's always been on the fantasy radar. Additions and subtractions, and he's a good overall basketball player. And then with the Hawks moving DeAndre Hunter, it just kind of creates an opening for somebody to do some playmaking. Bogdanovich is out as well. He kind of fits that role. Caris LeVert might be a little bit more fantasy relevant now that he's in an Atlanta jersey as opposed to Cleveland.
I mean, in the 3 recent games, and I'm not counting the first trade over because I think that's kind of a wash. 32, 35, and 28 minutes per game. 18 points, 20 points, 13 points. 11, 13, and 13 shot attempts. You can obviously see the counting stats on here. But remember, like you said, Bogdanovich out. Traded DeAndre Hunter. Jalen Johnson out for the season. Atlanta is still fighting for the division. I think they're like a game and a half, 2 games behind. The Southeast Division is the worst division in basketball this year and has been the worst division in basketball for probably the last 20 or 30 years. So you can still win the division. There's 30-something games left. The Hawks are going to give it their best effort, at least I'd hope, and Caris LeVert is going to get plenty of opportunity.
Speaking of opportunity, Quentin Grimes, which Grimes last name with Philly uniform, it just kind of fits. It's a grimy city if you go out there and watch a game.
You beat me to all of these puns, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I was gonna say
this is more recent.
He's a grimy guy.
Yeah.
He really gets down there. He's gritty. There's dirt involved. But kudos, James. Kudos.
The counting stats are there right now. And if he plays Brooklyn, you bet the overs because the last 2 games, which happened in 2 week spans, he had 16, 7, 5, 3 dimes, 2 steals. And then the other time that they played Brooklyn, it was just 2 days before Valentine's Day, 30 points, 9 boards, 4 dimes, 4 threes, 2 steals, and 1 block, 2 on 1. That's what that looks like on paper. But yeah, like, he's benefiting from a new opportunity, and he seems like he's going to play for like 20 teams by the end of his career. But,
I mean, probably. So right now he's at 4 teams, and he's 24 years old. So that is a good pace. I mean, Quentin Grimes is getting the minutes. 31, 36, 36, 33, 37 minutes. One of the things I think to also pay attention to, James, guess out of 15 teams where the 76ers rank in terms of standings in the Eastern Conference.
they stand 13.
They are 12th. So that's close. This was a team that going into the season, a lot of people thought could be, with healthy Paul George, Joel Embiid, and we need to do our own separate show about the tremendous downfall of Paul George. But the 76ers are on a 7-game losing streak. They're 1.5 games out of the 10th seed for a play-in. They might just decide to rest some guys and tank the rest of the year. Maybe they can get their top 6 protected pick and not have to give it to OKC. And if they do rest Paul George, Quentin Grimes, I don't know if he's going to get more minutes because he's already playing 30 plus, but he might get more shot attempts. So definitely somebody that you should add that I think could be relevant when we're talking about the final weeks of the season, aka the fantasy playoffs.
Here we are. Do you go with somebody like Grimes that has a bigger upside, or you got somebody safe like Kispert? We mentioned him last week, but he's only 8% roster still. He's going to give you those threes and some points, but I think it's safe that he's going to get you those for the rest of the year. Somebody to stream big time, especially like a 10-team, 12-team leagues, and you're like, I need some threes on a Sunday. Somebody to look for, but he's always going to get the opportunity. He's playing 30 minutes a night for the Wizards, and I know that we talked about on last show, but he's somebody definitely deserves just a little mensch.
I mean, he's getting minutes, and that's one of the things I'm looking. Even with the Wizards tanking, I don't think you're going to pay someone like Kispert and not play him at all. And I think the Kuzma trade was beneficial for, obviously they got Middleton back, but Kuzma is someone that can play 30 plus minutes, and Middleton is someone that, quite frankly, can't. He played 25 minutes against the Bucks, obviously a revenge game against his former team. But before that, he had missed the previous 6 games. So I think someone like Kispert that plays, kind of the same position, the 3, he's going to get, the same amount of minutes, if not maybe a little bit more. And I mean, he's certainly going to shoot the ball from 3.
We could talk about a couple of centers here. Bol Bol got hot right before the All-Star break, and it was like, if he plays minutes, he gets you statistics. That's 100%. And you watch out for players like this on the fantasy wire. Since post All-Star break, he's kind of dropped off a little bit, but it's somebody to be aware of. And if you're in the person that picked him up, it's a weird situation where, like, do I hold or do I fold? What's your take, Doc?
I think you wait a couple more games. Obviously out of the All-Star break, Nick Richards got some opportunity. It's interesting against the Spurs. Nick Richards started the game and then barely played in the second half. And then the last game against the Bulls, Nick Richards played more minutes. But I look at something like the upside of Bol Bol, and I'll give you his, in my opinion, 2 best games. 19 points, 7 rebounds, 3 threes, 4 blocks. And then the following game, 18 points, 14 rebounds, 3 threes, 2 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks. That's great upside. So I wouldn't drop someone like that just yet, because let's say there is a Nick Richards injury or Budenholzer decides to change the lineup again. He recently brought Bradley Beal back to the starting lineup and moved Tyus Jones to the bench. I'd give it a couple more games, because the worst thing that could happen is you cut him, then all of a sudden he gets minutes again, and then somebody else picks him up and is using it against you.
I'm going to go on a record and say cut. I think it was like it wasn't sustainable.
Well, here's my thing. Who would you add instead of him? Ooh. So all right. You're rostering Wendell Carter Jr. over Bol Bol right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, James. I'm going to sit back. It's your turn to talk.
Okay.
All right, just go.
Sochan might not be there. Yeah, I'd rather go with Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, I think he's got a safer role in these things. And 10, 12 team, it's pretty hard. 10, definitely a no. But his rebounding recently is look well. I don't know. I don't
No. Continue.
If I choose between the two, yeah, I think Bol was like just a blip in the radar. I mean, I think the other people we have in Kansas City are higher, and I'm not stating my claim on Wendell Carter Lane, honestly. I think if you're going to take a chance, go with Donovan Clingan.
I mean, Donovan Clingan, I think, has the best opportunity out of all of them. And for the record, I am not saying roster Bol Bol for the rest of the season. I'm saying give it another game or two before you cut him. If you have the space, that's all I'm saying. Decent upside. James, would you agree his ceiling is better than Wendell Carter Jr.'s?
Yeah.
That's my argument is you give guys
course,
like that have a little bit of a higher ceiling, a little bit more of a longer leash.
Someone like Isaiah Collier.
I'm not gonna say it, but those at the 17-minute mark just know what I did to James.
All right, friends. Well, that's all we have this week.
Wait, James, you just skipped the beginning part where you talk about the games played and games watched. You just went straight into the analysis of Sochan.
Holy moly. All right, so games played.
James is
this
rusty.
Week. It's
James was so excited to talk Sochan. He almost made these graphics for no reason at all.
Hilarious.
Go ahead.
People are going to be killing us. Most of these days are streamable days. Friday, you might have to bench somebody. But it's a fair week. It's that 4-3 that as a fantasy owner, and we're like, okay, it's not like you played 10 more games than I did. It's a pretty fair thing here. Unless your team sits with the 18 teams of 4, which includes Boston, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Chicago, Denver, Detroit, Indiana, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Heat, the T-Wolves, the Pelicans, the Thunder, the Suns, Portland, San Antonio, Toronto, and Utah. All those 18 teams have 4. And the 12 teams that have 3 include Atlanta, Cleveland, Dallas, the Warriors, Houston, Memphis, the Bucks, Knicks, Orlando, Philly, Sacramento, and Washington. Anybody come off the top of your head when we're looking at these teams with games played of people we may have not mentioned here, somebody just keep an eye on, or a team to keep an eye on based on injuries or new opportunities?
I kind of want to see what Brooklyn does. Like, obviously, Cam Thomas is progressing. Do they bring him back? The thing about the East, James, the Nets aren't out of a play-in. Like, you'd think they're tanking this year. Obviously, they didn't trade Cam Johnson. The Nets are half a game behind the Bulls for the 10th seed. The Nets are kind of exciting.
They aren't, and they should wave the flag for their own franchise benefit.
Better record than the 76ers. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, what a disaster there. Keon Ellis for Sacramento. He's got a little bit more opportunity there. Somebody to think about.
Keon Ellis is chills, He's someone you could add. Keon Ellis is chills. 2 points, 2 rebounds, and assists. 1-1 last game against the Warriors. He's over there. 7 points, 3 rebounds.
He had like a high 20 games this week, bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah, bro. He had 27, and then he followed up with 9 points in the following 2 games combined.
Oh, you got like the minutes he's getting.
Oh, 3 of 16 helps your field goal percentage. 5 rebounds in 2 games helps that. 2 assists, so he doesn't pass the ball.
Moses Moody has had double digits in the last 4 games.
Moses Moody good at too.
And deeper leagues at 29 minutes, 34 minutes, 27, 33 in the last 4 games. Maybe that's a good match, but now that's all we have here for this week. Hopefully you're in that situation where you can push your head into the contest and hopefully get into the playoffs. You know, you never know. And you never know how the matchup's going to come. You don't know if you're a franchise player, like Victor Wembanyama is going to go down, and it's super unfortunate. But it was good catching up, Doc.
Couple more shows and then the playoffs. You know, if you're still in it, remember there's no point in waving the flag in the middle of the season. Complete it, grind it out till the end.
Yes, sir.
It's a fun game. Just remember that at the end of the day. Don't get into beefs in group chats.
Unless you got to call somebody out.
No.
Sometimes you got to do that.
We're ending the pod on that note.
All right, E. See you until next week. Peace.